Welcome to the second part in a three-part series on impact of pivot on customer success. During the last 18 months, we have seen many businesses go through pivot to survive the COVID-19 onslaught. And like we talked about in the first part of this three-part series, that there are many things that a customer success organization during a pivot has to do to make sure that the pivots don't overwhelm the customer success managers or the customers that they are working with. And just to quickly recap for the audience here who might not have watched the first part, is that we talked about creating, documenting, and sharing a common vision of what customer success organization would look like in 2 to 5 years, and using that as a tool to decide what things should be done, could be done, or should be postponed, and things of that nature. So it's almost like a tool that can be used because there's nobody that you can really go to. In this part, we're going to actually delve deeper into some of the day-to-day types of activities, actions, and other things that must be done to navigate the world of pivots. I considered many things, but I basically boiled it down to 4 things that I want to talk to my listeners about. These 4 things are, I think, can be a linchpin of having a working strategy in terms of making sure that your customers don't churn, onboarding new customers for the new product, and at the same time providing coverage to your teams who have to kind of work in supporting the old products and also work on developing new products. So it is kind of, tries to balance out all these competing goals as best as, as a customer success manager can do with limited number of hours and work-life balance and everything else. So the 4 things that I kind of chose for this talk are, number 1, which is I think the most important one, which is to set expectations up front for the new customers who are using the new product, right? So what is a pivot? Pivot is you have a product that works, and then because of various reasons, in this case COVID-19, or could be other reasons like we talked about in the first part, you have to do some new product. Customer success managers have a way of working, a process, a set rule book, run book, whatever you want to call it, to work with the previous or for the legacy product after the pivot. And the new product, they have to come up with ways of supporting it, right? So basically, for especially the customers that are using the new product, do not try to set expectations that you cannot meet. You do not have the luxury of going to your product team and saying, hey, this customer needs this thing fixed right away, and they're going to drop everything and jump on it. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to be that lucky. If you are, count your stars and count your blessings. So the thing is, again, no false expectations. Set, even if it's conversation gets a little tricky, use your people skills, but do not set wrong expectations. It will just make the problem worse. Second thing I want to talk about is actually training, because as the product is evolving, as the product is changing, you realize that you have to continuously be training people. And, there are many ways of training. So the 3 ways, the most common ways that is I want to kind of talk about that you can do, and each has its own pros and cons. So one is doing one-on-one training where you're saying, hey, Mr. Customer, come on, I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes or 45 minutes with you, and I'm going to go through, these set of features, and you have your questions, and we're going to make sure that you understand the feature set, how to use them, all that kind of good stuff. Obviously, it's a very time-expensive strategy. It works, but it's a very time-expensive strategy. So, in some cases, that's what you might have to do. The second one is kind of like the other end of the, the spectrum, so to speak, which is that you kind of create canned training how-to videos, and then have a customer who has questions or who's onboarding or something like that to go watch this set of videos and train them this way. This is most efficient of your time. Customers might disagree because they might not feel that they're getting what they paid for. And then the third option in training is basically kind of doing group sessions at a regular cadence where you can invite customers, on a bi-weekly, monthly basis, and then talk about problems and stuff like that. And that is the problem with that, of course, is that some people are really shy and they don't want to talk about their questions, so they kind of just keep quiet, and it just doesn't work. So again, what I would recommend during a time of pivot, when you have a new product, evolving product, changing product, you want to do two things, two of the three options here. One is, do have them watch 2 or 3 videos. You don't want to have them watch like 10 or 20 videos, and that's not going to work. It's going to backfire. So you want to have them watch 2 to 3 videos that you feel are most appropriate, and then set up a session, a 15-20 minute session with them to answer the questions one-on-one, so that they don't feel that they are, not getting the personal attention that they deserve, and which they do. So that is kind of, a efficient yet friendly way of working with the customers during pivot training and retraining. The third thing that I want to mention, which is kind of sometimes overlooked, because in the heat of the battle, the people get so focused on the new problem, the new product, and the new set of problems, or the new set of questions that they have to work with, that they forget that they still need to deliver the same level of service that the existing customers on the existing product expect. They're not going to cut you slack. They're not going to go easy on you or anything like that. You still need to deliver to what they expect from you. So keep doing what you have been doing, right? Block and tackle stuff, as some people like to call it, but keep doing that. That's very important. Don't let that slip. And last but not the least, what I want to bring up is the fourth point, and which is having great working relationships with everybody in the company, because you don't know whose help you might need. So you want to make sure that you're friends with the product team, the development team, the sales team, the executives, everyone, because that is your go-to team when you get into trouble that you would need help from. So the secret sauce of managing all these customers is having very good relationships with everybody that you can possibly think of in your company, because you don't really know who you might need help from. So that is kind of the 4 things that I picked for the conversation today. If there are other things that you feel will also work, or some of these things that I mentioned may not work for various reasons, please feel free to leave a comment. And in the next and last part, we are going to talk about metrics, dashboards, and other takeaways from these 3 conversations sessions that we have had. Thank you.